Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Hey,
Hello,
hey,
and good
everybody.
Happy Friday.
Yeah.
It
Happy
happened
Friday.
again. Another week has mostly gone. Again.
It happens every week.
Yeah.
It does. There are times that it just feels like it goes a lot faster. And when
Yeah.
there's an awful lot to do, it's like by the time I hit the pillow for bed, I'm thinking, crap.
Yeah. It felt like we just did this Wednesday. Like it seemed like it was just yesterday, but it was day before yesterday.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been a good week. We've had some extra stuff happening. Of course, people know we're moving, in the process of relocating and getting all set up in the new place. And so last night hosted a V8 meeting, and that's part of what our conversation today is about. It's kind of ongoing conversations around charge offs and this and that. So
how things are looking for collective of dealers.
And our group last night, this was the first meeting of the month of November. And this is dealers that are from 100 to 500 accounts. So, pretty representative of common buy here payer structure and kind of status, if you will. And many in the group had been, I think 4 of the members that were in the meeting last night had attended the forum. And we're really enthusiastic. So it was really great. They had some walk-up attendance, and so they're pretty good, good attendance by their count, and really rich content. So people were pleased and saying, those of you who didn't go, make sure you get there next time.
Yeah.
So, right.
Yep. Well, it sounds like it's grown and has become richer from last year. Well, last year was the first year that they did the dealer forum as the structure for the event. Before that, wasn't it?
I thought this was the second year.
They might have. No, this is the second year. But yeah.
No, I thought this was I thought they'd done it twice before. I don't think it matters.
Okay.
But they're getting into a routine where they have to, like, I call them table captains, but I don't know if they call it just a moderator at a table on a particular topic. And then I think they rotate. I'm not sure exactly the format, but bottom line is you get dealers to get in around tables and have conversations with one another and learn from one another. And most said they had really good takeaways.
Well, that's one of the reasons why we're always saying live conferences are a good idea, to at least attend one during the year, just so that you can get like a feel for what other dealers are experiencing one-on-one, be able to talk, make connections, talk to your vendors and a lot of them. So,
of course, for the same reason, we also want to see dealers join a 20 group or one of our V8 dealer groups, because those conversations in a conference setting are wonderful. The problem is you don't know, somebody's giving you advice, but you don't know if they're any better in that area than you are, right? You don't get to see, or if
they're just blowing smoke because they're at a conference. That's true. But sometimes you get some really great ideas. Of course. So like the numbers, that's one thing, but the ideas, everyone loves a fresh idea, and teams love to hear a fresh idea. And so, it's a great idea.
Yeah. And I didn't get it teed up to show on the screen, but I also, prepared a link where dealers can book. I'll get it shared. I'll get the link shared with this broadcast, since I'm mentioning that dealers can start to book with me to do a recording where they'll pick 6, I'm calling it pick 6, like football thing, pick 6 questions out of a list of 10 or more that you would like to come and answer on video, just for the sake of the podcast going forward. And that way you don't have to be here live with us, but you can contribute to the conversation and answer the questions that you feel most comfortable with. So I'll share that link and people can get booked and come do those recordings with us. So shall we dive into the thing?
Absolutely. It's a numbers day.
Yeah. And we won't be here long, because there's, after looking at the numbers, by the time you take out dealers who didn't have 2024 data. So let me kind of help folks understand. Our objective here today is to, first of all, separate fact from fiction. Like, a lot of people are chattering on social media and this and that about charge-offs are through the roof and this and that. And so we just go back and we look at our actual data and we see what's actually happening. Well, by the time I strip out the dealers who didn't contribute full data for 2024, and I strip out some dealers who acquired paper during the period, some of those kind of things that would make their
Numbers
numbers
skew.
unusual, then, I end up with a pool of data from our V8 members, excuse me, where you've got reliable data, you've got data that's been validated, and you've got data that'll be meaningful here. And the way I chose to lay it out is just simple counts first. I just looked at number of sales and number of charge-offs. And so we can get that on the screen. I'll get it teed up here. That document, hopefully you can see it well enough.
All right. Those of you who are listening to the audio only, please go to our YouTube channel and you can see the actual numbers or just kind of listen along.
Of course.
Take notes.
You can always email Jim at White Way and I'll email this actual slide to you. But it's just a single slide, and all it lists is volume for 2024 versus volume for 2025, and then charge-off count 2024 versus 25, and then at the bottom it has interest coverage. I also did net sales, which net sales is just the difference between the buy here, pay here. I'm sorry, the sales volume and the charge-off count. So I'm going to put this ticker on the screen while we go through this, Michelle, just to let everybody know.
Data is October 2025 year to date versus October 2024
year to date, right? So it's just basically looking at a 10-month period. So it's a good pool of data, right? It's a broad enough pool of data, 10 months of the year stacked over the prior month, the prior same period. And so what it shows is
this validated data, which makes, people can start saying numbers, but you know, it's like
these are numbers
best recollection when you're live, but these are all validated.
These are numbers that we confirm. They send in matching or send reports to confirm the data that's being presented. So so what we did is for those not seeing the screen, we've got a column for high, low, and average. We'll focus mostly on the average today. So let's just get to it. On the sales volume for 2025 versus 24, the average was only off by 0.5%. We're 0.5% lower than 2024 in this group.
So we're pretty much so par for actual sales volume for the dealers that are this is an aggregate too. So.
Yep. And then the charge-off count was actually up by 17%, so almost 18. So it's up, but that's and that's obviously a big number to many.
Depending on the size of their portfolio, that can be just incredibly big.
And I made a note over on the side over there is what percentage of the dealers saw an increase. And so we didn't talk about it in sales, but in sales, 38% of the dealers actually experienced an increase in sales in 25 over 24. And half of them experienced higher charge-offs. So I think you could say the other half of the group did not experience an increase in charge-offs. So I think we got to just remember that when we say charge-offs are way up, you have to just say not for everybody.
But you know,
put a asterisk in there.
That's something that I see on social all of the time, is that someone will ask a question and people inherently latch on to negative news. And so it's like, no, it's worse for, this is just kind of, it's awful. And you hear just everyone wants to pipe in that it's awful most of the time, because it's like people like to commiserate on those kind of things. If you're perusing social media and someone is saying, hey, it's lower, and you're like, they're full of crap. I've been just fine. You're not as likely to leave a note in there as someone that says, oh my gosh, you're right.
Sure.
So when I see these things happen, and I just think it's human nature. When I see these things, people, when they're having a bad experience, love to commiserate. They love, other people like to kind of jump on that bandwagon. And so when you see all this negative stuff, there is negative, but it's not hitting across the board like it's perceived to be. If you're a new dealer and you're down a little bit and you're seeing this, it's like, oh my gosh, the sky is falling.
Right.
it's not.
Yeah. And I did
Yeah.
look at this. This pool has got many states represented. It's also got dealers from our portfolio size of 500 to 2,000. So that
So
first
this
line
is your
sales
average.
volume. Yeah.
Your
And I didn't want to show the
mid-range.
actual numbers intentionally because you have to understand the volume varies. Like you've got dealers in there that did 100 cars in 10 months, and then you've got some that did 800 sales in 10 months. So that's why I just focused on the percentages of change for each of those individually, and that's how we ended up with it's the sales volume again, only a 0.5% decrease.
Yeah.
And then in the charge off count, 17.6% increase in charge offs. So 17% saw an increase.
17%. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
And then, so the net sales number, so let's put that on the screen, that definition. I got it. It just says that net sales definition. This is just my own definition. I've always called it net sales. It's just looking at how many did we sell versus how many did we charge off in the same period. Because granted, you got payoffs to think about there too, but that's generally representative of how much our portfolio might have increased, right? In terms of number of accounts, which is going to translate into pay or cash flow and so on. So just try to look at net sales, and net sales, when you factor in the repo, increase, net sales were down by 11.2% on average. So dealers netted, fewer sales as a result of the increase in charge off. And then we get to interest coverage, which is, I just picked one, and I thought if there's any one number, we talked about this in our meeting last night with this group and looked at everybody's individual numbers, and it's really interesting. So let's back up. Let's remember I have on the screen. The definition is interest collected in the period minus the net charge-offs in the period. So we know as a finance company, that's why we charge a higher interest rate, because we anticipate higher losses, and so this interest coverage is really meant to calculate, do we bring in enough interest to cover our net losses? And if we don't, we might need to make some adjustments. It might be an indication we got a charge-off problem. We may be able to pass along some interest savings to our customers because our underwriting is effective enough, apparently, that we don't have as high a charge-off. Maybe all these are things that you could deduce maybe from looking at this interest coverage. But you can see that interest coverage for our dealers actually averaged an 18% increase. So their interest collected in the period versus the net charge-offs in the period in 25 was actually up 18% with this group. So it's an indication that portfolios are not as shaky as you might quickly surmise, right?
I mean, I think yes, I agree. I think that there's uncertainty right now, and so a lot of people latching on to the negative side of this. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty around capital. There's around car prices that we were just squirrel. We were just talking about how all the tricolor cars are going to be hitting the auction houses,
right.
And it's hundreds and thousands of
cars,
and that are going to be hitting the auctions, and so it's kind of like that'll be interesting to see what that does to prices. Will prices drop drastically? Will they maintain their whatever it is? So interesting, very interesting. So when you're looking at the interest coverage and the charge off, how do those counteract each other? So it's like, if on average we're seeing an 18% increase in interest coverage, and we're seeing an 17% interest or increase in charge-offs. So that really does that. I'm the way I'm looking at it is like that's almost canceling it out.
I'm glad you brought that up because I needed to explain that I put on there that I looked at the charge-off count just to keep it simple. So when you get in charge-offs, if you're doing deeper analysis, you would look at both frequency, which would be the number, and then you would look.
So this is not dollars.
That's right. So that's how I put
units.
Count up there, charge-off count. Gotcha. Whereas interest coverage down there at the bottom is based on dollars. So that gets into what they call.
It would be interesting to see the actual numbers, dollar amounts and charge-offs
Yeah.
versus the interest coverage and see,
Okay.
where because that to me would be like that could be canceling if you're collecting better interest,
Mhm.
and it's counteracting that.
That's a good
That
point. I think
makes a
it's
difference.
worth noting here that,
Mhm.
and again, for the folks not seeing the screen, the percentage of dealers that have seen an increase in this pool that
Mhm.
have seen an increase in their interest coverage this year, year to date, is 63%. So based on what they call
Yeah.
severity, the
Uh-huh.
dollars of the charge off, which would be net of repo
Mhm.
recoveries, right?
Mhm.
So with this particular pool, that 63% of them saw their interest coverage get better. So it's like, it's not all bad news.
What attributes to that increase, or what? Yeah,
Well, it's going to be a combination of things.
contributes
It's
to
going
that
to be,
increase.
it's obviously interest collected is going to be, we're collecting well if we're getting interest in the bank, right? Because
Okay.
interest is only
Is it about
calculated.
raising interest rates, or is it just
Mm,
about better
It's
collection?
better collections. Very
Okay,
few of the
gotcha.
dealers, I don't know that
Mhm.
any of the dealers in this pool have made any changes to their interest rate during this
Okay.
2-year period roughly we're
All
looking
right.
at. So in this case, they're just collecting well. They're banking interest,
Mhm.
and they are recovering repos apparently well, because this would be net of,
Mhm.
the charge off is a net number. So it allows for the repo recoveries coming back in. So the repo recoveries must be coming in good value, which is mostly what we're hearing. Dealers are seeing a lot more voluntary turn-ins, people giving
Mhm.
up on the cars and this and that. But that means the cars are coming back, that aren't wrecked and that don't have blown motors and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff that dealers deal with a
Yeah.
lot. So
We see pictures of that, but
Yeah.
that's not the norm
Yeah.
of cars coming back. So, I was reading the article. We talked about the primal end bankruptcy.
Mhm.
And one of the things that contributed to them needing to do that was that they've cited in, I forgot which newspaper article that it was from, but they cited how one of the reasons why they needed to do this was because of COVID car prices.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, God, how long has it been since the COVID spike?
Well, it would have started late 20, I think, is the way I
Okay.
remember.
So we're not
Excuse me.
seeing, for most of the dealers that are out there, you've already seen all of those cars that you bought at a high cycle out.
Mhm.
They're gone
Yeah.
now. So they're no longer part of your portfolio for the most part.
Right.
Yeah. So, how long did it take for prices to start going down?
Some would say they haven't gone down yet. I mean,
At all?
well, it gets tricky, because are you talking about percentage of where it was, or are you talking
Mhm.
about
Well, the
relative?
reason why I'm saying is because there was this period of time, this is
Mhm.
from the article, where prices were so high and then they decreased in value. So when things came in, they no longer met that threshold of having value. They had a higher amount owed than what the value of the car was because car prices had dropped. Did what I just say make sense?
Yes, and I
Mhm.
think that I'd just be interested to see the raw data
Okay.
myself, in order to see what people are concluding, because I think any one of us has been around this business very long. In
Mhm.
2020, I probably said it. We probably have it on some of my recordings on YouTube way
Mhm.
back. It's like when car prices jumped a lot, think about
Mhm.
what was happening. Dealers buying a 10-year-old Honda Accord with 120,000 miles,
Mhm.
and they were paying X. And
Mhm.
suddenly, because of COVID, that same car, same profile of car, same age, jumped
Mhm.
a lot. Well, it's the same car, and the customer's going
Yes.
to pay the same down payment and the same payment. So we could have guessed that jump to that new number was not permanent.
Yeah.
So that means it's going to have to correct. Obviously, it only corrects at the pace that supply improves and all these kind of
Mhm.
different elements can come to bear. But the reality is, we should have known that car prices were going to. But even if we didn't know that, we had to have known that the customer, because we ran prices up. Dealers had to. They were maintaining their
Yeah.
margins, and they ran prices up. And so we just, I think there's still some debate about whether we're through the bubble on that COVID thing. And here's why.
Mhm.
You said we're through it because we're 5 years in. Well, we are 5 years in. However, a lot of dealers recycle their cars and bring them back in. And that means they assign a value and they run it again. So a car that was high and they bought in COVID is probably still showing a high used car price last year and 24 or whatever. And so it's got to be coming down. So I think you look at that and say, and again, we're dealing with a small pool, but I think it's representative of dealers that we work with in terms of, profiles and sizes of operation, et cetera. So I think for our interest coverage to be up, there's just those three elements. There's the interest that we collect from the customer, and in the same period, the gross amount of charge-off. So what I mean by gross charge-off is the amount the customer owed at the time of the charge-off, irrespective of the repo. And then we adjust for the repo value. And obviously dealers, from one dealer to the next, they may not have the same exact practices. So one dealer may use black book, some may use MMR, some may just put a number on it. But as long as they're consistent, and they were consistent in 24 over 25, and I would say virtually everybody we're working with here, that would be one that I also tossed out of the data pool because they did make a change in the way that they were booking repos in 25 versus 24, and now their numbers look more like the rest of the group, and so they can better compare themselves to what's really happening. But I think the most significant piece here is that we just can see that it's not. There's still some more correction coming. Every indication is that used car prices are going to come down. We think that's inevitable, right? That's going to soften some. But a lot of factors that are beyond anybody's control.
What do you think about? I was just watching a highlight of news. We don't have television. I mean, we don't watch television,
cable television.
And so the news is stuff that we just kind of pick up on. Before I go on to my point, good point. Amount finance has gone up, but downs and payments stayed similar, which would mean more interest collected as better interest coverage.
If the contracts are performing, right? You only collect interest if the contract's still paying.
So, how do you? One of the highlights of the news is that. And I'm not sure exactly where it's at, but it's either coming down the pipe or something. And I think it's from the big, beautiful bill, where auto loans are now tax deductible. The interest on auto loans are now tax deductible for everybody. It's probably not going to affect because most of our clientele aren't in a tax bracket that they need to use the interest as a tax deduction. So, okay. I just was wondering if you see that is going to change anything.
No.
Okay, never mind.
Not in our subprime sector. I don't. You won't see anything near term that feels like any kind of a change that you could attribute to that because, as you said, the customer that
for the dealer it will, but I mean the dealer, the car that they buy,
they drive demos,
but they try. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
so they don't pay interest on their loans. So it's so I think I don't see a lot of don't see a lot of change with that. I don't see our consumer in subprime, doing itemized deductions very often, and so I think it's pretty insignificant for us. So we'll see how that goes, but no, I don't foresee any kind of shift there. But
so just another little spot of the news for those that are listening. I just saw a news release this morning that TSA agents that stuck around during the government closure and that went above and beyond the call of duty will each be getting a $10,000 bonus.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So I don't know how you change your marketing, but you go out to the airports and start handing out cars to all of the TSA agents. Hey, do you need a car? Hey, do you need a car?
Oh.
Hey, do you need a car? Because they're all going to be hitting a $10,000 bonus. Then it's like I don't know when they said it was going to be going through, but it was like a press release or it was a live thing that I was watching. And
that's also a recruiting tactic because they can say the next time the government shuts down,
you
it'll
stick
happen
around.
You too could get a bonus.
You too can get a $10,000 bonus.
Wow.
So, we know that for the upcoming year, that tax tax money back to people within our customer base is supposed to be rising. So there will be, from all indicators, more money coming for that. So we, be prepared. We have tricolor cars hitting the market. I think this, like in the next month or two.
Well, we don't know. It's going to be up to the bankruptcy court probably to release whenever they.
Well, when that does, I mean, if it lowers car prices, that's a good time to buy if you've been holding on to a little reserve to get some cars that are at a lower price.
It is the time of year when dealers would be stocking up in anticipation of tax refund season, and there was some question about whether or not tax refund season is going to be up. A lot of people say
according to the folks at TaxMax, it's going to be great.
Yeah, I've heard that in the past, and dealers didn't experience the same. So we'll just find out what, we'll see what happens. But I got to ask you a quick question, just to aside. You and I haven't talked about this, but personally, Michelle, did you experience any impact from the government shutdown? Were you aware that the government, did you feel it?
The only way I felt it was uncertainty about whether or not we were going to make it back to Utah for Thanksgiving on our flight. Just watching all of that. There was nothing else that had affected me at all. And it affected me and it affected me on the periphery around again, it's a feeling, the stress level for family members that rely on a government check of some kind, whether it be service or retired service or whatever. Me personally, I did not feel
just the
potential
of a flight.
I did not.
Just trying to put government in perspective in our lives. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Maybe we should shut the government down for a while.
Whole thing for me is there is perceived threat, purveyors of fear is a real thing. And that fear sells. And it's interesting with most big things. That's like the news of the day, the government shutdown, the news of the day, and why everyone should be afraid or angry or whatever. And folks, I from my experience, the majority of things we are told to fear never happen. And so you think about all of the wasted energy we have around fearing what never happens. Now, do I say you should just go and be merry? I'm Pollyanna and everything is, half full. Maybe. But I mean, you make sure that you're always have your safety net in place, and you're doing the different things like that if you doubled your charge-offs, would you be okay? We're good. And then just stop listening to all the rhetoric and all of the hype, and just at least not stop consistently consuming all of the rhetoric and all of the hype.
Just avoid overreacting. Like, I think we just need to, of course we need to react. We need to be responsive to what we see and anticipating, things relative to competition and this and that. But otherwise I would say, we maybe this is an indication. And like I say, today was just like a lot of days, just present data and let you decide. But the data says, survey says, that charge-offs for not everybody, is experiencing.
Well, and it's kind of fun because we listen to every time Jim finishes get to the data. Even though everyone gets the data, the conversation didn't turn towards the data until the last little bit of the meeting because they all wanted to talk about other things. And so, again, if you are interested in joining a V8 group, being a part of that conversation, hey, just come and join us.
Some who are listening want to be in a group, they just don't know it yet. They don't
Yeah,
realize
exactly.
it. Yeah.
So if there's anything we can do to help you, please
Let's get you
call
on
or
it.
text 903-816-0216. That is Jim's personal cell phone.
Yeah.
So, all right, everybody, thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time to be a part of our day. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and we will see you on Wednesday. Thanks again.